On March 21st, 2020, Uganda confirmed the first case of novel coronavirus, also known as COVID-19. As of 24th June 2020, the country had registered 797 cases. To curb the spread of COVID-19, the president announced a series of measures. These included suspending mass gatherings, schools, ban of public and private cars, curfews, which necessitated the increased usage of internet for schools, offices, business transactions, among others. While these measures were well-intentioned, they have hurt the enjoyment of fundamental human rights, especially the internet rights and freedoms. To understand the impact of COVID-19 on digital rights, the Africa Freedom of Information Center assessed the government response to COVID-19 on the digital rights, basing on the 5 principles of the African Declaration on Internet Rights and Freedoms. These principles are internet access and affordability, freedom of expression and right to information, privacy and data protection, marginalized groups and groups at risk. The African Declaration on Internet Rights and Freedoms states that access to internet should be available and affordable to all persons in Africa without discrimination on any ground that internet plays a vital role in the full realization of human development and facilitates the exercise and enjoyment of several human rights and freedoms, including the right to freedom of expression and information, the right to education, the right to assembly and association, the right to full participation in social, cultural, and political life, and the right to social and economic development. According to Uganda Communication Commission, as of December 2019, there were 16.9 million internet subscribers in Uganda, leaving a larger number of the population unconnected due to the high costs and poor infrastructure, including lack of electricity supply, especially in the rural areas. The unconnectedness has also been made worse as a sizable number of people who were accessing internet at their workplaces can no longer do so due to the COVID-19 movement restrictions and closure of workplaces. The freedom of expression and right to information principle states that everyone has the right to hold opinions without interference and the right to freedom of expression. This right shall include freedom to seek, receive, and impart information and ideas of all kinds through the internet and digital technologies and regardless of frontiers. The declaration further states that everyone has the right to access information on the internet. It was noted that both President Yoweri Museveni and the Ministry of Health officials have been proactive in providing leadership in response to COVID-19 through regular updates on the pandemic, speeches, and the statistics. Specifically, the Ministry of Health has utilized its social media accounts to share daily updates on the test and the cases recorded, leaving a number of Ugandans out. This principle was further affected by the recent purge in the media sector, which has seen several media houses, including the Nation Media Group and the Vision Group, laying off journalists, suspended the publication of some of their outlets, and reduced staff salaries by up to 60% in certain cases. Other media houses, such as the Independent Magazine, the Red Paper, and the Observer, have suspended print editions and resorted to online version, leaving the majority that are not online failing to access the information. The contact tracing violated the privacy and data protection principle, which states that everyone has the right to privacy online, including the right to the protection of personal data concerning him or her. As the number of cases rose and the government doubled its efforts to reach out to the returnees for testing, there are reports of Ugandans using online platforms, mainly Facebook and WhatsApp, to share personal contact details of the suspected returnees, with threats for further exposure should they fail to report for testing. It is still not yet known how the public got access to personal details of the suspected individual returnees. That led to physical attack, threats of evictions, and online exposure. The marginalized groups and groups at risk principle requires that the rights of all people, without discrimination of any kind, to use the internet as a vehicle for the exercise and enjoyment of their human rights and for the participation in social and cultural life should be respected and protected. The COVID-19 response has expanded the digital exclusion of marginalized groups, especially the women, persons with disabilities, and the rural-based communities, whose access and affordability of ICT is still extremely low. The Africa Freedom of Information Center calls upon government to 1. Suspend the implementation of the OTT tax as a way of reducing its associated costs in accessing certain social media platforms. 2. Work with telecom operators to zero-rate essential online platforms such as the Ministry of Health website, President's Office, and the Office of the Prime Minister. 3. Ensure mobile operators, internet service providers, and other relevant stakeholders implement measures to expand connectivity, including through the establishment of Wi-Fi hotspots. 4. Ensure that COVID-19 related information is conveyed in a range of different local languages and formats that cater for people living with disabilities to guarantee that all members of the population are appropriately informed and empowered by the information being communicated. 5. Ensure that the role of the media is protected, respected, and promoted to ensure that they can perform their essential function in informing and educating the public, as well as ensuring accountability, including providing the media with relevant information and enabling them to raise questions with relevant officials. 6. Respond to misinformation and disinformation relating to COVID-19 with approaches that promote transparency and media freedom rather than relying on criminal sanctions. 7. Ensure departments responsible for collecting and processing personal details, such as the Ministry of Health, Civil Aviation Authority, follow proper guidelines in collection, processing, and sharing the details with other agencies in accordance with the law. 8. Ensure that COVID-19 public health information is communicated with captioning and, where possible, sign language for all live and recorded events and communications. Together with all stakeholders, we can protect and promote digital rights for all amidst COVID-19.